Hello, I'm Christina with the Turned Leg, and today is the day you've all been waiting for. I'm going to take you to my booth and show you my new space at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall in Lincoln Park, Michigan. I have been a booth owner at Plaza Antiques since 2015, and over that time I have grown my space. I started off in an 8 by 10. I'm going to show you my new space today. When you pass the cashier station, you turn left, you're going to enter where my booth is located. My booth originally was the area on the left, and you can check out past videos to see what it looked like. This is a video before the previous owner moved out, and her space is on the right. The new space was a little overwhelming, so I chose to focus in on the aisle first. I have this large display, the Turned Leg, that I kept kind of along the back wall, and I had permission to do that. I asked, since I was going to get the space across the way, if I could bring that piece forward, and I was allowed to do so as long as I kept the aisleway. It did require me to move one of my other displays, the display with the doors and the ladder that I made in a previous video, which you can check out here, to another location so I had enough room for the aisle, but I thought it would really tie the space together. So that was my first focus of my new space. And here is how it looks now. I have to say I was shocked by what a huge difference just moving the display forward made, and it gave me so much more space. Since this is one of the first displays you see as you walk in, I really made sure to redo the displays. I want to really keep them looking sharp and all pulled together. You will see the wires hanging down. Currently, I do not have electricity to this display case, but that's just one of the many works in progress. And of course, I will reattach the wires too when I have a free second. But I really wanted to make sure that this set the tone for the rest of the space. I also hope this video kind of keeps it real for all of you that are working on your booth. Once again, the booths are never done. They're always a work in progress. And frankly, that's a good thing because you're always improving. Now I am going to quickly take you to my original booth space area. There are lots of tours, so we're not going to spend a lot of time in this area, but I will tell you, while this was all going on, because I knew I was getting a new space, I was hoarding a lot of inventory in this space, smalls, furniture, everything, so I could easily then slide it over to the new space. So one thing you're going to see is just how much openness and room there is. And the extra bonus for all of this is that shoppers were able to find items so much easier. I know it is a constant struggle as a booth owner to have enough items versus too much in your space because you never want to turn people off and feel like there's too many things. But in my case, I've really noticed that now that I've spread things out, people can look through them. I'm selling items I've literally had for a really long time. I mean, I've had cool stuff. They just couldn't always see it. So just a little word of advice. It's very hard to find the happy medium. I once heard from a booth owner that said, this whole business is just bringing in more stuff to your booth, bringing it in, keeping it stocked, and then one day you realize you have way too much. You have to take it all out and make it pretty again. And that's really what it boils down to. Last year, I added the salvage to the windows here. This is doors and shutters and an old ladder, and it kind of gives me nice little cubbies. It also gives me vertical space. And one of the things I'm currently plagued with is both of these areas, the one also along the project shop wall, they give me lots of space, but right now there's a lot of empty space, and so I'm going to be on the task of filling the empty space. So stay tuned for more videos on thrifting and flea markets and all of the things so I can find items to restock my booth. And of course, I'll take you along with me. And now we're really in the project shop area of my booth, and this area hasn't changed too much. I have Sweet Pickings milk paint, I have DIY paint, and I am now a new IOD retailer. So that area is new. And all of these items are, of course, available on my website. One thing I like to have in my project area are completed projects to inspire people. You can learn how to make these IOD hearts that I did for Valentine's Day. There's a YouTube video for that, which is available in my website for people to scan the code to. I think it just helps to inspire people and give them ideas on how to use all of the materials that I sell. Since I moved the turned leg large display forward, I now have wall space, and I've put my JRV decoupage paper there and my wood products, and I have so much more space. Another exciting thing with my booth expansion is that my mom actually could carve out her own booth space within the new square footage. My mom is a porcelain artist of paint and porcelain, and I'll put her information down below. She had some space in my previous booth, but it was really hidden. This is a much better location. She has a dedicated area, and she can show off her art. Another bonus of moving the large display forward is I get an area behind it, and I'm actually thinking this might be a good spot for teaching classes in the future. Right now, it is absolutely perfect for my t-shirt display. The area you've been waiting to see is back here. Let's go take a look. This was the area before the previous booth owner moved out, just to show you the before. And once she was out, this was the structures that were left. The two cabinets in the back, one my mom purchased from the previous owner and one I purchased. It's always a good idea if you can get something at a good price and you don't have to move it. So that was very nice. My goal in this space is to really work with what was existing, especially because, money is always tight. Getting a whole bunch of new stuff to put on the walls and pegboard is just not that exciting. So I tried some different things here, and I think you're really going to be surprised, and I hope it will inspire you in your booth space too. I also wanted to add some character. This space is a new space, and it looks it, and there's like 2x4s. So one of my plans was to bring in some old stuff. This area right here has two 2x4s coming down as a support beam, and I decided I would cover it with some salvage. Luckily, I was gifted a whole bunch of salvage right before I started working on this booth space from a friend of mine who was helping tear out some of these old boards out of an old home. And he said, "Hey, do you want them?" Well, you knew my answer. I also used almost every single one of these boards in my space. Wait till you see how I use the bigger pieces. A lot of the smaller yellow boards I cut to size, and I covered those two studs. And the bonus of this is on the back, there is some amazing character that was created from the boards. I almost wish I put this side facing out. I mean, just look how pretty the old wood is. Let's take a look at the new space. Now, the way that I planned this was kind of by rooms, and it was based on furniture that I had available so that I could figure out groupings. And then I would kind of figure out placement once I got into my space. This area here is an end cap, and I always like to have pieces that face out and invite people in. And then this is that table and chairs that I got on a recent thrift haul. If you want to see the whole video, you can click on the link above. The hutch that I also got from the previous dealer, and another wood hutch. So funny, I put this wood hutch out and so many people didn't even know I had it in my space, and it did sell quite quickly. I've learned with this hutch that placement is key, and dark things obviously stand out better on a light background. This hutch has been selling a lot of the treasures I've had for a while, but I haven't been able to put them on display. This is the part of my booth that I share with a neighbor. Right now, she has some baker racks to help delineate the space. I'm hoping to put up some other things too so that I have area to hang on. One of my favorite things for that are like old closet doors or even doors. I just haven't gotten to that yet. but I have a whole bunch waiting in my booth when I have time to put them together. And going back into the next space, the previous owner had painted a chalkboard wall on the back. I had hoped to keep it, but there were a lot of wall anchors in the space, and it wasn't going to really work for me. They also left behind a whole bunch of brick boards. They kind of look like brick on the boards that they had covered with like plaster to make it look like a German schmear technique. Where they had the wall boards attached, I was going to put up pegboards since there was already an existing structure, but I had plans for those materials. I hung an old ladder here for vertical space. This was actually a ladder that was already existing in the structure that was owned by another dealer. Luckily, they gave it to me to use again, and it fits the space perfectly. The area in this space was kind of like a girly travel vibe, and that's where I got the inspiration. But probably the most stunning feature of the space are the boards on the back wall. All I did was attach these boards to the studs, and then I'm able to hang on the walls without paying for pegboard and building the 2x4 structure underneath and everything else. I also really like the look of this. I decided to keep some yellow on the boards because I just liked how it looked. The opposite wall is the pegboard wall, and I am just putting items up here right now. I know there's a lot of empty space in this area, but one thing about getting your booth up and ready is just to get it open so that shoppers can start shopping. More items are coming to my space soon. The next room is probably one of my favorites. It had an existing green wall that I just loved the color of and didn't want to change it. And I decided to move those wall boards with the brick onto the back wall here. I just added some boards to the studs in the wall and then attached them. I also decided to use some of that salvage wood. I cut off the yellow ends on these, staggered them on the wall into studs so that I could hang. Remember, this whole area is drywall and you can't hang things easily without putting in anchors and just making a big mess. This solution saved me a lot of money because I didn't have to buy the framing boards and then the pegboard, and I really am liking how it has turned out. The other cool thing about the space is pretty much everything you see here was already in my booth. I was just recombining it in another way. The only thing new was the table in the center that I purchased. It's really amazing what regrouping your items can do and how it can inspire you. Another thing I love to use are old screen doors. I have one I've stenciled and painted here, and there's another one. You can hang on them, they're lightweight, you can move them around. This might not be the permanent location for them, but I kind of like them in the garden room. If you watch my thrifting videos, you probably saw me pick up this chair. I put it into my booth space and it did not last long. I'm so happy I got a picture of it before it sold. Heading back out into the center of my new booth space, I decided to use the post that was in the middle of my booth space as kind of a natural divider. I might make a wall here, but at this time right now I'm just putting furniture against it and creating a nice little display area that people can walk around. I am very lucky to have electricity in this booth. In fact, there are more plugs in the walls than perhaps I've ever had here. One of the big additions that I like to do to my booth space is to add the Edison bulb string lights. I did them on the other side. I just love how they look. I'll put a link in the description box below so you can see where I bought them on Amazon. These are one of my favorite things, and I think they add a lot of charm to my booth space. Now we're heading to the last area of my new booth space, and this became the library space, and that's because there was an existing wall, it was pegboard, that the previous owner had covered with book pages. I also sell a lot of books, so I thought it was a perfect combination and I could reuse material that was there. On the back wall, I've hung a salvage door. I also have another one of those salvage boards on the wall to give me a spot to hang more items. So that was the long-awaited booth tour. I know you guys have been asking about it, and I just want to tell you, obviously, I still have a lot of work here, and I'm trying to give myself some grace because having a new booth, it's gonna take time. In fact, for me, it almost takes up to a year to feel comfortable in a new space and to see how things are gonna work. The benefit is when you have a new space, you normally don't have a lot of stuff. I know I'm counting all of the empty space and what I need to fill, but that's a good thing because people can find stuff a lot easier. And one bonus is I've been selling things that I've had for a while, but people just couldn't see them. So I hope this video has inspired you and given you some ideas. If you like what you're seeing here, just a reminder that I do have a booth owners business group, and it is a private group on Facebook. It is a paid membership group. I will leave the link in the description below. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. I'm thinking about having my next video as Q&A, question and answer. So if you have any questions you want me to answer, put them down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.